People get married and they see their single friends less. People have kids and they see their single friends never.
They're fair to my single friends who maybe they get engaged and they want to have a bachorette. And now I'm like, yeah, I can't leave my newborn. I'm not going to go. It's understandable that I can't leave my newborn. I'm not going to go. But at the same time, it's like, who's going to be her village and support her now when she's having a different season of her life too. Welcome to the NOIRPOISED podcast, where wisdom is power is more than just a motto.
It's our way of life.
Welcome back, guys. So I feel like I had this experience before I had kids, and now I'm having it, but I'm on the opposite end of it. So, I mean, you probably haven't experienced it, but you ever noticed that, like, when your friends or your loved ones have children, the dynamic within your relationship changes a little bit. Like, it shifts.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have as much time. They don't have as much availability. They're not, going to the events as much or whatever the case is. So, little things may happen, right? That shifts the dynamic of your relationship, and that's completely normal. But unfortunately, there are times where that's not understanding between those friends. Like, especially if the person's not walking in that experience or haven't had it, they don't understand what's happening in your life, right? So naturally, when women become moms, they gravitate more towards like their mom friends, so to say. That's what I hear a lot of women say. I try not to do that, but it happens because they're more relatable. You can relate to them. You can have certain conversations where they get it. If they don't answer you in a couple hours, you're just like, sis, I get it. If they're not available for that event, like, sis, I get it. So there's more of a grace and understanding in relationships where the person is going through the same thing as you, right? So it changes. And I feel like that has happened at some point in time with my relationships and me being on both sides of it. So recently I had a conversation with someone where something like that kind of happened, where like they didn't get it until they became a mom. They was just like, yo, sis, I get it. And it just had me thinking like, yeah, this is something that happens pretty often where your friend becomes a mom or your friend becomes a dad and they're not out like they used to. They're not available like they used to. And you not understanding that, you may take it the wrong way or have hard feelings towards the situation. And sometimes relationships even end, believe it or not, because of that misunderstanding in that season of time. So have y'all experienced that? I feel like it is probably a common thing, right? Even if it's not like friends, it could be like family members, it could be siblings, even like parents, right? Because I feel like that a little bit has happened. Like, I think my dynamic with my parent has changed after I became a mom, where it's just like, I'm not as accessible to you. I'm still available, but not as much. And I think people get used to you being a particular way, and they want that forever. Right. And so when you start to become less available, it's kind of like, what happened? Yeah. I
mean, like we were saying, you naturally change when you have kids. Mother and father. Yeah. And sometimes the people in your life don't necessarily like that change. Right. Also, I think what keeps a lot of adults connected is accessibility. You know that if you were to hit somebody up or call somebody, they'd pick up. Yeah. Or if you want to hang out, they're available. That changes when you're a parent. You can't just pick up the phone whenever someone's calling, and you can't just go out whenever someone wants you to go out. It's a whole process, and I think some people are just not willing to
stick around
for that. And nothing wrong or ill intention on their part. It's just
it's not their season.
Yeah, it's not their season, and what was keeping you guys connected is no longer there. So you can't expect someone to always be willing to stay connected for that reason, right. Regardless of that reason.
Very true. So speaking of that, there was a video that a friend of mine actually sent me that I think touches a little bit on it, but I'm gonna play it and y'all let me know what y'all think.
I saw this on Instagram and I said, no one is like saying the thing out loud. And then I got so many DMs of people being like, you're not saying the thing either. This is a really difficult conversation because there are a lot of hurt feelings on both sides, right? This person, when you're single and childless versus a parent, right? Or like a new parent, we're talking about parents of newborns. There is a really big schism in like your lives. You are no longer the person that you were before you had kids. Your life is completely different. And the way that this country is set up, mothers especially have like no support. I'm talking about like in a partnered situation, you're lucky to have like your partner or your husband or your wife or whatever. Daycare is getting more expensive than ever. We need 2 incomes to survive in the household. old, or if one person is staying home because daycare is too expensive. We don't have free childcare to support parents. Women have to go back to work after very, very short amounts of time, unlike in other countries where they get like a year or 6 months off. There's a variety of factors that isolate mothers, especially sort of forcing them into this period of like, you have to stay home with your newborn baby, you like don't leave, and you're like trapped there. Anyway, the thing that you're not supposed to say is that as this person, right, I am single, I am childless, when you are that person, you sort of jettison people from your lives at every single stage, because people get into relationships and they spend all of their time with their partner and they like stop talking to their friends. And then when they have kids, they're like, where's my community? And it's like, well, you wanted to have double dates with other couples. You wanted to have mom friends. There's this sort of element of surprise that people like aren't showing up for you and aren't there for you, when a lot of people who are in this situation, when you're the last person to get married in your friend group, I've read advice columns and listened to podcasts, and I've seen it happen in real life, in my life, where it's like people don't show up for you the same way because they have kids, right? They're busy. They don't have the money. They want to go on vacation with their partners. They want to go on vacation with their kids. They can't go on girls' trips. They can't go on boys' trips. They are like completely devoting themselves to their families, which is fine. I'm not saying it's not good or fine, but also it's interesting that we always have this like great element of confusion when people get married and they see their single friends less. People have kids and they see their single friends never. Your life now as this person completely revolves around going to their house, hanging out with their kid. And like, obviously you want to know their kid. You want to have a relationship with them. And I know a lot of mothers who say, I still want to be reminded of the person I was before I had kids, right? I want that bond. I want that connection. But again, there is this element where it's like a lot of people in this situation are like, I have to bend my entire existence to everything that you guys want because you don't have the flexibility or the ability or the money to like do all of the stuff that you were able to do before. And again, this is just me speaking in generalities. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that this is why there's so much resentment between the two groups, right? When you're this person and you're like, oh, I can't go to brunch. I have to like go to Westchester and sit in somebody's house and like watch their 2-year-old for 6 hours. It's not how I want to spend every Saturday. I'm sorry. And like, you do it because you're a good friend and I love my friends' kids. I love hanging out with them occasionally, but like, it can't be 100% of the time. On Substack, I published The Sociology of Begging Someone to Marry You. And there I talked about the American obsession with the nuclear family, where I linked to this article from 2020 where the nuclear family was a mistake. And in it, David Brooks says that a lot of the reason that we see so many people begging for community, why so many people are so lonely, is because for the last 70 years in this country, we've sort of platformed the nuclear family as the ideal, right? And it's like, I come from a culture where you live in multi-generational households, you live near your family, you have your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, you have like a whole large support system so people don't feel as alone. In America, it's very different, right? You live in your little house, you spend all of your time with your partner has to be your best friend. Couples self-isolate, parents self-isolate, and then the resentment builds because they're like, why isn't anyone showing up for us? And I don't think there's the same level of reflection because, again, I'm seeing a lot of these posts. I'm speaking to a lot of people, both in real life and on podcasts, who are saying, you didn't come to my wedding, you didn't come to my bachelorette, you didn't do any of the stuff that I did for you because you had kids first. And like, now you're saying, where's my village? Where's my community? Where are my people? Where are your people? And again, this isn't me being messy. This isn't me being controversial or like taking sides. I'm just saying, I fully understand why this separation happens, but like, there needs to be some awakening. There needs to be some truth because a lot of people don't want to acknowledge the way that they like cut people out of their lives as they move into new stages of their lives. And like, everyone is happy for you. Everyone is happy that you got married. Everyone is happy that you had a baby. But like, you need to acknowledge that sometimes friendships end and that's no one's fault. I know that Tinks talks about this a lot, but I do think people in this situation need to look back and take inventory of places where they might have dropped people because they were moving into new stages of their lives and like want to spend all of their time with their partners and their babies and like, don't have time for this person anymore.
We can make sure we're on the right track, but he's essentially saying when you get into a new stage of your life, you have to acknowledge that that new stage is going to cause some people to now become a little distant, right? Is that what he's saying?
I think that was part of it, yeah. But what I got from it was more so the accountability aspect. So, like, when you go into a different stage of life, what often happens, and it's kind of what I said earlier, it was like moms tend to look for mom friends, and you already have limited time because now you have children and a family to care for. And so with that minimal time, you're giving it to other moms who have the same kind of experience as you, what happens to then your single friends or your kids, your friends who don't have kids or your friends who aren't married yet? Yeah. So I think he was saying more so like, you have to understand that like when you drop them high and dry, you can't expect to then have a village when you have children, because that person probably could have been your village, but we kind of like become distant with them. It's not that it's necessarily wrong, but it's like it's a reality that's happening. So you can't sit there and be like, well, no one's showing up for me, when in reality you have to take accountability and realize that you probably weren't showing up for them either. And he made a good point, because even this was before kids, but I was kind of like, I'm kind of over girls trips. Nonetheless, I love my girls to death. You know that, to death. But they know there's been a season where I'm just like, I don't want to. And they respected it. They were just like, okay, cool. There's certain events where I'm just like, I don't feel like it. I'm not going to go. And they respected it. They respected my boundaries. But when I watched this video, I was just like, you know what? He has a point. Is it fair to my single friends who maybe they get engaged and they want to have a bachelorette, and now I'm like, I can't leave my newborn. I'm not going to go. It's understandable that I can't leave my newborn. I'm not going to go. But at the same time, it's like, who's going to be her village and support her now when she's having a different season of her life too, versus when it was my time. I mean, not literally, but let's say I had a bachelorette and everyone was available because everyone was single. You know what I mean? So I think he's trying to show both sides and make people realize like there's accountability on both. It's not necessarily you don't have a village, just that you kind of left your village a little bit. And I think that comes with moving too. Not just like, oh, you're getting married or having kids, but like moving away from the people that you know and everyone that you're familiar with. That causes you to then not have a village. But
Is he also kind of saying that it's inevitable? If you're the single friend, you're not always going to want to hang out with your friend and her kids. You know, so naturally that relationship is going to get a little distant. It may not completely end, but it's going to get there a little bit.
I don't know if this was what he was trying to say, but what I got from it was, even in that space, you try to make the best out of it, because the relationship dynamic is going to change regardless. If you have a single friend who's not in the same experiences and you're married with children, like they may be understanding of it, but they're not walking through it. So you may make a comment and they don't get it, versus if I make a comment to like another mom friend, I could say 3 words and she's just like, I get it. You know, it's the relatable aspect, and that comes across the board. It's not just this, but like when you relate to someone, there's just certain things you don't need to say. It's just unspoken, but you get it, you know? So I think it's more so making time for those people too. Like I have single friends now, and I know that there's times where it's like, it's me, you, and the kids. I'll be working, so if you're gonna come over, it's me, you, and the kids. Or if I'm coming over, because I try to make an effort, and it doesn't work all the time, but when I go, it's just like, it's me, you, and the kids. But I actually started doing this last year where I'm like, there's moments where it has to just be me and that friend without the kids. Specifically my friends that don't have children or don't have significant others. I told myself I have to make an effort to just like go see them on my own a little bit more, where it could just be like me and them. Or even when they come now, like what we do is I do it at a time where you're done with work, and it's like, okay, you hold down the kids for like a good 1-2 hours, so that way there's a moment where like I have with my friend alone. You know, we can have certain conversations, because I think if it's always a space where you're always with their kids, it's naturally gonna create a shift in the relationship, because there's certain conversations they can't bring up. There's certain things y'all can't talk about.
And kids interrupt.
So
kids interrupt. Like a kid sitting there is like they're gonna want to interact. Interact themselves. Crazy. Another part that I'm still on the fence of was his argument with the nuclear family. I get that. In a lot of cultures, the grandparents move in, or the parents move in with the adults, and the adults have the kids. So it's kind of like you have a village right there in your home. But at the same time, I think it only doesn't work the current way, where we got married, we got our own house. I think it only doesn't work this way because of extra pressure, whether that's financially or just like societally. I wouldn't want to live with my with my parents, and I think a lot of people would see that, because then you're always going to be viewed as a kid. And everything I've read shows that you get the most success when you move away from home. So having a family in there,
I think it depends on what family you come from too. Though. That's the thing. Haitian culture, that's just Haitian culture. As long as they're alive, you are a kid. They don't care.
And naturally, I think I personally believe that you can only get to certain places if you know that you don't have anyone to fall back on. And if you know your parents are there,
you're comfortable.
Yeah, you're comfortable in a sense.
Yeah, but I think it's different. It's different if like you're moving in with your parents versus your parents are moving in with you.
Yeah, I don't think that's much of a difference, honestly.
You know?
Yeah, the rules might be different. You might feel like you have to respect their rules because you're in their house, but at the end of the day, it's still your parents. So whether they're in your house
culture.
or not,
I think it's culture because from our culture, yes, that is the case. Like we know this, but in other cultures, I've heard of people having that dynamic where like their parents fully respect and understand the boundaries, and they understand they're there to help.
Yeah,
they're not there to give like advice that's not wanted.
Yeah.
They're there to help where needed. I think that happens in America, right? I feel like I've met coworkers where that's the case, where it's actually the grandparents saying that they offer their help because they realize that there's no point in having a huge house. They're going to move in with their kids. They have like a little guest house or live in the basement and they help where needed. I think that happens pretty often. Of course, there's going to be friction to some extent, but I think it really depends on culture and the type of parents that you have.
Yeah.
Haitians, unfortunately, I love my people, but it's hard to do that with your parents because, again, they view you as a child as long as they're alive. You are still their kid. You have to abide by this and that. So in our sake, yes, getting away is great because you don't have to deal with you should do this. You should do this. It's just like, no, I don't want to. But if they live with you, it's like a constant nagging. So I can understand that.
And also too, now that I'm thinking about it, I do kind of disagree with some of his points about like the whole friendship. Because I'm thinking about it as, everyone who went through college had a season where I'm not hanging out, I'm just studying, right? You're not picking up the phone, you're not going anywhere, you're just focusing on studying. And I wouldn't say you necessarily lost friends because of that, because maybe it's because the friends knew that
we're going through the same thing.
Or either going through the same thing, or even if they weren't, they understood that this is just for a semester. And maybe that's the difference where being a parent is long term.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a fatigue after a while or something. And at the same time,
because it's not forever.
Yeah, it's not forever, but it could give the feeling of that. And I think selfishly, sometimes the single friends who's not in that position, you're not willing to budge a little bit. Because I'm thinking like if I had a close friend who had a child, I wouldn't be upset if it's like 6 months and we hadn't hung out or had a conversation or something. I think it's a little bit selfish to expect someone to immediately put you first. And I get what he's saying, like you don't want to always spend your Fridays or your weekends, babysitting in a sense. I get that. I also do think that the friends you lose in those moments
were meant to be lost.
Yeah.
That's how I view it now.
It's going to sound messed up. I don't mean to sound messed up, but...
You don't want those people.
That's messed up.
Well, let me let you say what you were saying, and then I'll rephrase.
The reason why I'm saying that is there's a love you have for people where you kind of just want to be around them. You kind of want to be involved in their life, and to whatever capacity that is. And I can't imagine myself where I have someone that I love, and they're so busy. I see they're so busy with this parenthood, and I get upset to the point where I'm just like, forget it.
I agree because I think there's always going to be friction.
Yeah.
Like I think based on my experience, there has been dynamic changes within a lot of my relationships because of this, but it's never to the point where it's just like I disown you. Like we're no longer friends. Like it's never that. Yeah. It's always I feel a type of way or you feel a type of way. We both know about it, but it's a season and it passed and we have a conversation about it. It was just like, yeah, I felt a type of way with this, that, and the third. Or yeah, I always thought this, and we have a conversation and then squash it. It's over and it's like I still love you. We're still here for each other. We get that this is the new us. Yeah. And I think that's a friend that you keep. But when it's a situation where it's like you're willing to get rid of this relationship.
Like I tried a couple times.
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say like they were meant to be lost. Like you don't want those friends. Like and that's across the board. I've had people like willing to give up on my relationship, and it made me look at them differently. Like till this day, like even if I still talk to you, I look at you like I know what it is. Yeah. You were willing to literally just drop this. So now I'm putting you in a position where if you decide to do that, bye. Yeah, like, I'm ready for it. I'm not going to put myself in a position to be hurt, Yeah. So I get it. But again, I do think it's accountability. Yeah.
To his example again of the single friend who's the last to get married and saying like, I was there for you when you threw your bachelorette and all that stuff. I think sometimes people think fair means
I do the same thing.
I do the same thing. And realistically, you're in a different place in life. They're in a different place in life. You can't expect the same treatment. If you were able to go out on, I don't know, on a cruise or go somewhere overseas for 5 days, like you can't expect the person to have a sitter for 5 days and not, you know, see their kids or make accommodations around that. Again, I think it goes back to understanding on both parts.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that was the point of the video was like understanding both sides of it, but accountability too.
Yeah, because there's people who we invite over here now. I would prefer them come over at night, and when we try to do that as well, because it's like I know you don't always want to be around kids that are not your kids. Kids are great, but
you don't have kids, so you're just like these kids annoying.
Kids are great, but they're annoying. Sometimes you just want to be like, let's just vibe with adults. I have so much that I want to tell you. So I get that, and like he was saying, it's all about finding that middle ground.
Yeah, for me, it always goes back to conversation. Like, I think when you don't converse about it, then it's like, that's when the relationship goes left. I think it's having those conversations so both individuals know where they stand and what they're capable of doing. Like, if you're my friend and you're having a party and I'm like, I would love to come, but right now I can't. My child's sick. Or I would love to come, but right now I don't have a sitter and I know you don't want a baby at your party. As much as like, the other friend, you want me there, right? But you understand that like, I would rather you not come than come with your baby. So this is just the reality. So understanding that is good, but also sometimes you just have to accept that some people are not meant to be there for the long run. Yeah. And that's unfortunate, but that's just what it is
now
too
that
sometimes.
Now that you're saying that, I actually do remember that this did happen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I had someone who I was occasionally hanging out with, like every probably couple months. I didn't talk to him like that often, but we always make time to go hang out somewhere. He was, I think, engaged around the same time I was engaged, but I had kids first. He would be texting me, and I'll take a while to respond, and we'll set dates, but I would have to like push it back or cancel. And after a while, he just ghosted me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, even I think this happened years ago, obviously. Yeah. But even I think last year or this year, I tried texting him again, and he never responded.
Oh,
and I'm
wow.
like, he probably feels, I think
type of way?
Yeah, I think I did hear that he felt a type of way, not towards me, but he just doesn't like that. Like if he's talking to somebody, like for them to take long, whatever the case is. And I was like,
yeah,
it is what it is.
That's life, man. Priorities. Priorities, it happens.
Yeah.
I think it really is just, and that's the thing, when you're not walking the shoes, not everyone is willing to understand, but there are people out there who don't have to be in it to be understanding. Like I can think of people in my life right now who they're not in the same situation, but they're the most understanding and they're willing to compromise with me. And they're like, you want to go out to lunch instead of like being at home, or do you want to be home with the kids kind of thing, So it really, some people are not meant for you.
Yeah.
That's my answer to everything now. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I love you, but I could love you from a distance where like, we're just a check-in kind of people. And that goes across the board.
And one of my biggest red flags, I would say, is when someone tells me, you don't even have 5 minutes. That to me is telling me like, you're not even trying to understand what I'm saying. Like I can't talk at the moment. Like I'll call you back later or something. But I think sometimes people just don't understand or appreciate the season you're in. And what I've learned also is sometimes when you're okay with letting those relationships go, you form new ones.
That's facts. That's what's happened for us actually. You not even forming new ones. At least for me, I've gotten closer to other relationships that I've had. And again, there's understanding on both sides of it, right? But it's loving the person enough to be like, I feel a type of way. I don't like that I don't see you as often, but you know what? I get it. When the time comes, we'll jump right back into it. Yeah. And that's what I've always noticed in my experience is like the people that I did feel a type of way, because I've had that happen where I'm just like, I miss my friend. Yeah. Like I miss my friend. I miss our time together. It has come around full circle if you stick around. You just have to learn to love the people that you love in all the seasons of their life, not just when they're convenient to you. Because to me, when it gets to the point where you're willing to let go, that tells me like you're selfish. And do I really want you? No.
Yeah.
So all in all, at the end of the day, the people who are meant for you will come to you. Yeah. The people, you attract who you are. So I think in different seasons, you will always find the right people that fits those particular seasons. That doesn't mean that you love other people any more or less. It just means it's not the season for y'all right now. And that's okay. Yep. That's totally fine. And after a baby, that happens a lot. You may feel alone, right? After a baby, you feel alone. You may feel a little isolated, and other people may not understand that. But at the same time, I think we have to take accountability and see, like, well, we can't expect people to be there for us if we're not willing to do the same for them. Like, it's okay to go in isolation for a little while, but communicate that. Like, you know, right now I'm not really going out kind of thing. I'm really like in this space right now. And that person will then understand. But if you just disappear, then come on, you can't be mad at them for being mad. So, and we're out. Thank you for spending your time with us. We hope you gained some knowledge today that'll promote poise in your life. We have new episodes uploaded every Thursday right here, same place, same time. Until next time, you can follow us on Instagram at NOIRPOISED Podcast to stay connected. That's NOIRPOISED Podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback.
And remember, your wisdom is power.